I'm Patrick Andrews, and you're tuned in to Oneness Talk Radio. One world, one voice. Expand your vision. Welcome to Spirit's Journey on Oneness Talk Radio with your hosts, Patrick and Catherine Andrews. Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so you can live your sweetest life. Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Welcome to Spirit's Journey on OnenessTalkRadio.com. I'm Patrick Andrews.
And I'm Catherine Andrews.
Today's topic is getting back up when you get down. So, have you ever gotten down and you're not sure why? Maybe some life circumstances hit you really hard. It's a normal part of life in the physical world, but that doesn't mean that we have to accept it. Normal just means that the majority of people that we know experience the same things. When we go back to the idea that we create with our thoughts, we get to choose which thoughts we create with. Getting back up becomes our personal responsibility. I've heard so many people say, but this is really bad. How can you say that I created this? I didn't have any control over that. It's hard to accept our responsibility sometimes for the unpleasantries of our lives, but when we do, we take back our power. As long as we hold on to the false idea that we are a victim of life or a victim of other people, we stay powerless. We've given our power away. We want to do an experiment with you. We've done this before in other ways, but we're going to give Pam Grout credit for this since we are currently reading her book, E Cubed. This is one of the experiments that she talks about in her book. Take a moment and register right now how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is, I don't even feel like getting out of bed today, and 10 is, I feel awesome, I'm on top of the world.
All right, so monitor yourself, rate yourself 1 to 10, and then we are going to play a song. Just sit back and listen, and then after the song, we're going to ask you to rate yourself again. How do you feel? So we actually did this experiment. It was really fun because this is one of my favorite songs, and so definitely I felt a lot happier after. So you guys might have your own favorite songs. Think about that. If you like this experiment, it's a definite tool that you can use to bring yourself back up when you are feeling down.
Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy, clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, bring me down. Can't nothing bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down. Can't nothing bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't nothing bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down. Can't nothing bring me down. I said,
So, see how you feel now after listening to a little bit of Pharrell Williams' Happy song. And on a scale of 1 to 10, once again, 1 being I don't feel like getting out of bed today, 10 being I am awesome, and see if there was an improvement from where you started.
I know when I hear that song, I just want to get up and dance. So music really is an awesome tool that we can use to uplift our mood, get out of a rut, whatever. So a lot of people like to make a playlist of their favorite songs, put it on the iPod, whatever. And so then whenever you're feeling down, you go get that list of music and you can bring yourself up. And I want to talk about some other tools that I like to use and I know work really well for getting us up when we're down. And one of them is essential oils. So those of you who have used them before know how powerful they are because actually smell is the strongest of all the senses. So what happens when we breathe in the essential oils from plants is that those smells arrive within seconds to what we call the limbic system of the brain. And the limbic system of the brain is where we process our emotions and our feelings. So smells can immediately trigger a feeling or an emotion. A lot of times people will go into somebody's house and be like, oh my gosh, this smells like, my mom's house, or, the feeling of fresh baked cookies. A lot of realtors have learned this great technique to bake cookies when they have an open house. And the smell of those cookies triggers this emotion in people of comfort, of being at home.
The power of aromas really makes a lot of sense when we look at the evolution of the human body. In biology, you can see the power that smells have to other mammals, and as our human body evolved, that is still very much a part of our bodies. One of the things that we don't realize a lot of times, especially as we start giving more attention to spirituality, is that even though we are spiritual beings, we talk about being light and energy, we still have a lot of influence in our physical world through our physical body. So that's why these smells and these aromas are such a powerful influence in our lives.
And so when we talk about the essential oils, we're talking about the volatile oils found in plants, shrubs, seeds, flowers, even the roots. And particularly citrus is a great oil to lift our mood, to bring clarity of mind. So I love the orange, the tangerine, the lemon, which is actually very inexpensive. Rose oil, of course, is quite expensive, but again, is known for being a mood lifter. So one way you can use the oils, in addition to diffusing them in a room with a diffuser, is just wear them like perfume. I also have a necklace that has a little area where you can put a little piece of foam that's been soaked in the oil. You put that inside the necklace, and so all day you've got that oil just kind of as a mood lifter, which I love. Also, some people like to use them in their dryer. You can get a mothball, soak it in one of the oils, and put it in with your dryer. And then your clothes are going to have this awesome smell and uplifting mood. So those are just some ways you can use the oils. I also want to mention that I think food has a big effect on how we feel. So you all can do an experiment. You can eat healthy food one day, all day, and keep a food journal. Notice how you feel, if your emotions, are up and down, or if they're kind of even keeled. And then take a day where you eat some junk food, fast food, whatever is junk for you, lots of sugar. You'll find that your mood is probably going to be very different. So food is really a powerful drug, and a lot of times we forget that, but it has a direct impact on how we feel. Certain people are more sensitive to the foods that they eat. I know that I am very sensitive to the foods that I eat. So if I don't balance my blood sugar by having a little bit of protein throughout the day, I can fall into a slump.
I know I definitely feel the effects of my body with what I eat and sometimes what I don't eat. A lot of times if I go too long without eating because I'm getting really wrapped up in a project or something like that I'm really into, and I don't take time to re-nourish my mind and my body, then I can really start feeling the effects. My body starts shutting down. I start feeling sleepy. And so I know that's a signal that I need to recharge and re-energize my body. That's one thing that a lot of times people overlook. I've heard that so many times. I heard that growing up. Oh my gosh, you got to eat such a good breakfast starting out in the day. But I know so many people that just start out their day with coffee or maybe a piece of toast or something like that. I've been there too. We are leading these very busy lives. We're rushing off to do one thing after another all day long. And sometimes we don't take the time to nourish our body the way that we need to. But we know what happens if you neglect filling up the tank in your car is that you may get stranded. And I've been there. I know people have been there. So we need to take the time to do what we have to do to keep things going.
As former teachers in the classroom, we definitely see the effects of bad nutrition on kids. The, school lunches, school breakfasts are pretty pitiful. They're processed, filled with sugar. And it's no wonder we have kids that are bouncing off the wall, or they're depressed, or just mood swings, fighting, all that. A lot of it we can attribute to the poor nutrition that they're getting at school and or at home.
You may not know my story, but when I was growing up, I was actually diagnosed as being hyperactive. And today, that probably would have been the equivalent of ADHD. My mom, fortunately, did not want to put me on medications because I think that really would have had a negative effect on my development spiritually and mentally. So what she did is she actually did research and she removed all the things in our pantry that had artificial colors and artificial preservatives and artificial flavors. She found a lot of research that showed that that had a tremendous effect on kids. And if you look at the processed foods that we eat today, it's no wonder that some of these kids are bouncing off the walls because of all the chemicals that we are putting into their bodies on a daily basis.
And another interesting phenomenon is eating out at restaurants. So sometimes you go into a restaurant and you're excited, you're happy, you're on top of the world. Maybe you're meeting friends for dinner and you eat this food and it may taste okay, but then afterwards you kind of notice your mood is fallen, you're feeling kind of down, maybe you're even feeling angry. And one of the ways to explain this is that the person who was actually preparing your food behind the scenes could actually have been in this really ruddy mood, angry, upset. And those feelings get transferred into the food, unfortunately. And so when you eat it, you get those feelings are transferred to you. So unfortunately, we can't pick who's going to cook our meal at the restaurant. We just kind of have to hope that we get somebody who's in a good mood that day. But that can happen a lot. So we want to be careful about where we go to eat.
I think this may have been one of your favorites too, was Chocolat, and that was a movie that was actually made. The whole premise was that this lady moved to this town and she had this way of kind of mixing in her emotions and her feelings into the food that she was making. That movie was actually based on reality, that the people who make the food do have a big impact on that. And so when you're going somewhere fast, and we're talking about fast food, think about the energy. There isn't really a lot of attention being put on creating something that is healthy and nutritional. It's just, oh, we got to get this out fast. And so what do you think your body does when you eat that food? Your body thinks it's in such a hurry that it can't even digest it. I had a health reading a little while back. It was years ago now. I've made a lot of changes since then, but it actually said that I was spending so much time in my life running around and rushing that I built up this mental image in my mind that I didn't have time to eat. And so I was literally grabbing fast food in my car on my way to do something else. And so even though physically I was going through the motions of eating this food and swallowing it, and it was going through my digestive system, I'd built up this mental attitude in my body. So energetically what was happening was my body had this attitude because of my thoughts that I didn't have time to digest it. So it was just passing through my body, and I wasn't even really getting the nutrition out of the food that I was eating anymore.
That's a great point. So we want to be aware of how we're feeling when we're eating our foods. Another great way to uplift our moods, which everyone's probably familiar with, is exercise. So studies have shown when we exercise, we release these endorphins that make us feel good. So I know a lot of times I have to push myself to go exercise, and I'm so glad I do because afterwards I feel so much better. If I'm on a high already, I just get higher. I just feel great. If I'm kind of in a slump, go for a dog walk, I get the fresh air. Man, I'm feeling really good. So exercise is another great tool.
One of my favorite exercises is swimming. I think that's such an awesome exercise. There's almost no impact on the physical body because you are suspended in the water, and yet there's incredibly great resistance with every stroke, and you're working out your upper and lower bodies at the same time. If you don't have a pool available, though, walking, of course, is always a good exercise, but then we need to combine that and balance it with some upper body work, too. So that's why I really like to use yoga, because you get a lot of stretches, and you can do some strength poses along in there. I'm a big fan of Tai Chi also.
So let's talk about that water effect. Going out in nature is uplifting any time of the day for me. But in addition, if I actually walk by water, like a waterfall or a lake, we get those negative ions that come off the water. And those negative ions are responsible for uplifting our moods. A lot of times people will experience seasonal affective disorder in the winter where there's not a lot of sunlight. And so one of the remedies is actually having an indoor fountain or using a salt lamp. Anything to get those negative ions. The salt lamp releases those. And so that can help lift your mood. So I recommend totally just going out in nature if you're feeling down and just let Mother Nature lift you up.
Speaking of natural negative ions, there is a reason why people are just intuitively drawn to the coast, because the east and west coast, as we all know, are the most heavily populated areas in this country and around the world. But the salt water, as those waves naturally lap up against the shore, every time those waves crash on the shore, it's releasing that salt into the atmosphere, and so it's releasing those negative ions, and so that's a very similar effect. But fortunately, we do have the ability to do that even in our own home with a salt lamp.
And I wanted to also note that with the essential oils, you can actually measure the frequency of the essential oils. So they're usually very high, higher than, for example, a lot of people. When we're sick, our frequency level goes low. And so if we use an essential oil, which has a higher frequency, it's going to bring us up, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And so those, again, bringing up the frequency is what we're talking about here. Another way that we can bring up our frequency is through meditation. We've talked a lot about that in shows, but one of the things I want to mention is that when we meditate, what we're really doing is we're getting in touch with our inner self, our soul, our best friend. That's the essence of who we are. And when we don't meditate, when we don't get in touch, we start to begin to separate and get these feelings of, feeling alone or anxiety. And that's actually a wake-up call to say, hey, you've been ignoring this important part of yourself. It's time to get reconnected. So even though meditation is known as a very serene, tranquil, really gentle practice, it can actually uplift you, not like you're going to be dancing on the ceiling, but in a way that brings this inner connection of a sense of inner joy that is just blissful.
This is a good time to circle back to one of the things that we originally talked about in terms of our thoughts really determining how we feel and what is occurring in our life, what manifests in our lives. Because one of the reasons why people often fail in meditations, when I get feedback on why they're having difficulties, is that they don't really create a solid intention for their meditation. So just because you're sitting down to meditate doesn't mean that you can just sit down there without any kind of a plan or any kind of an intention. We need to create a thought, a clear thought in our mind of what we are focusing on for that meditation period. So if you're wanting to create peace, be very clear about that. If you're wanting understanding, or if you're wanting some kind of intuitive guidance, be clear in that also. Now, the second thing that often happens, which is why people say that they are failing in their meditation, is that they don't know how to create clear focus in their mind. We need to learn how to take back control of our attention. We are so used to things grabbing our attention. Media is really bad about doing things to grab our attention. They do it on purpose because they want us to give them our attention so that they can sell us whatever it is that they're trying to sell. But we need to learn how to take that up to the next level, to take back control of our mind, to take back control of our attention, to hold it where we want for as long as we want, and be able to accomplish the things that we set out to do.
So we're talking about, meditation is the time of listening. But we don't always have to just go into meditation. We have our feelings and emotions talking to us all the time. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling angry, don't push away those thoughts. Those feelings are trying to tell you something like, hey, there's some kind of thought, there's something going on inside you that's causing this source of pain, depression, whatever it is. So what I would say is don't dwell in those feelings and get lost in them, but listen to them and see what the message is. And then you can actually take action and do something about it. A lot of times, people will say, oh, I'm just in a funk and I don't know why. And sometimes it's true. There isn't one thought or one event that's put us into this kind of funk. And so I want to briefly touch on that because we live in a very fast-paced world with a lot going on. We've got astrological influences. So let's talk about those. Sometimes we are just going through a nasty astrological transit that's really just kicking our butts. So an example is Saturn. Saturn is that planet of responsibility and lessons and hard work. So sometimes we go through periods where Saturn kicks our butt. For example, the Saturn return. It's actually a period of a couple years from the ages of 29 and a half to 30, 31, where Saturn gives us a wake-up call, and sometimes it's not pleasant. because we're faced with where we have been irresponsible in our lives. And so it's very uncomfortable. Saturn can be kind of a depressing planet at times because we have to look at all those lessons and challenges and things that we've been avoiding and take action. However, when we do take action with Saturn, we actually get amazing results and we feel like we've climbed to the mountain, we've got to the other side, and then we can experience the good feelings. We get out of that slumber, that depression. Another cycle that we go through astrologically is called the Uranus opposition. This occurs about age 40, 41 for most people. And the Uranus opposition can also bring a depression because Uranus opposition time is a period where we look at our life and we begin to make course corrections. We look at what we didn't accomplish in our early 20s, things that we wanted for ourselves. And it's an opportunity to make corrections and get our life back on track. Sometimes it's a little bit of a selfish period where we're really urged to look at our life and say, what do I want for myself that I haven't done yet? And begin to make those steps to do that. So, for example, let's suppose you turn 41 and you fall into this sad state, this depression, because you recognize that the career you've been doing for the past 10, 15, 20 years is not what you really want to be doing. Maybe when you were 20, you didn't go to college to get the degree to become the professor that you wanted to be. And so now you're recognizing that and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in this dead-end job. I want that career that I really want. So if you take the steps, sometimes it requires discipline. You may have to go back to school a couple years to get that degree to become what you've always wanted. Again, just like the Saturn return, if you go through those steps and you stay disciplined, you come out of that Uranus opposition with the career of your dreams and you pull out of that, depressive state. Another astrological influence that can bring us some sadness and some depression and, some anger is Pluto. When Pluto opposes your sun sign or another major planet, it's like, whoa, some of your wounds are going to come to the surface because Pluto is the planet that says it's time for radical transformation. There are things within your psyche that need to come to the surface and be healed. So it's not always fun to bring up some of those wounds, some of those dark parts of ourselves that we've been ignoring. But once again, if we listen to the Plutonian influences, if we begin to take action to heal those parts of ourselves, we will come out shining like a star. But if we push Pluto away and say, no, I don't want to look at this dark stuff, and we push it down, what's going to happen is life is going to get even more uncomfortable for ourselves. We're going to continue in that sad state. And then eventually we become angry because Pluto wants us to transform. And when we push it away, Pluto gets angry. And then what happens is something usually is taken away from us. It's that thing that keeps us from transforming. If you're in a dead-end job that is not serving you, but you refuse to let it go, Pluto's going to find a way to take that job away. And one day you walk into work and your boss says, you're fired. That's an example. And then now you're in a crisis situation in addition to being in a funk and depressed. So Pluto demands action. Whatever you've been holding on to, again, could be taken away. Let's say that all your attention is focused on this big mansion that you have and you work at a job you don't like just to be able to afford this big house. But it's really just a barrier between you and your true self. You may find a mudslide comes and just destroys your home. Yes, it is tragic if you look at it in physical terms. But in metaphysical terms, there is a reason that that house got taken away from you. For some reason, it was a block to finding your true self. So the idea with a Pluto transit or some kind of Pluto aspecting your sun, the idea is to let go. See what Pluto has to show you.
So you might be thinking about now, I knew it. I knew there were things that were out of my control. These astrological influences are controlling my life. That isn't what we want to say at all, because you need to keep in mind that you have a choice how you respond to these influences. These astrological influences are really no different than the weather. A lot of people complain when it rains. We had a period about 2 weeks ago where it rained for probably 10 days straight, and everybody was starting to get sick of the rain after a while. But we have to remember that without the rain, all of the trees and the plants around us would all dry up. Everything would turn to dust, and we would be living in a desert. And I don't think any of us would like that. So when it's raining, we need to remember this has a purpose. There is a reason for this, and everything is happening exactly the way that it needs to happen. So when we're talking about these astrological influences, when they seem to be negative in your life, it's because you are resistant to the direction that your spiritual energy is moving. So with the example like we were talking about with the job, when you are resistant to making the changes that you need that move you more in alignment with your spiritual self, with your spiritual energy and who you really are yearning to become inside, that's when problems happen. But when you are flowing and you allow yourself to move with that energy and you make those changes that are being called forth within you, everything seems to flow exactly the way that it needs to happen. It's just like flowing downstream instead of trying to fight the current.
That's true. We are not puppets being controlled by the planets. We can take the power. It's just a matter of, waking up and seeing, what is the message. And of course, one thing that we definitely have to touch on is the fact that Mercury messes with our brain and can definitely cause mood swings, depression, and so forth. And where is this hidden Mercury? Well, look at the vaccines. It is in there. So be careful what you inject yourself with. If you think you're going to go get that flu shot, thimerosal is another word for mercury. So that's definitely something we have to consider with what's going on with a lot of people today.
I think the real lesson that's coming up for us over and over again in our society and even worldwide is that it is up to each of us to take personal responsibility for finding out what goes into our bodies. We made the commitment years ago to start eating organic food as much as possible. Personally, I am opposed to genetically modified products because there really hasn't been any testing. They're just turning these loose on the general population, and they're allowing us to be the guinea pigs to see if there's any problems. And in the United States, it's shocking to learn that our government has given these companies immunities so that if they release a genetically modified product and it causes havoc in a population and causes even death, they are not held liable for that, which I find to be shocking. So we need to really take back control of having the right to put in our bodies what we want, what we think is in our best interest, and to make sure that we always preserve that right.
And one thing we can do on a positive note is maybe this is leading us all to realize we need to grow our own gardens in our backyard so we know what's going in our foods.
It looks like we are at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to be wrapping up Spirit's Journey in English. We want to thank you for joining us for this portion of our show. Be sure to check us out at intuitivestool.com, as well as joining us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio.
See you on the Spanish show.
Bye, everybody.
Namaste. I am wisdom teacher Sri Ram Ka. Are you noticing that life is speeding up? Are you experiencing changes in perception, interrupted sleep patterns, headaches, and shifts in personal relationships? Chances are you are having a spiritual experience, not a medical problem. We call these experiences AAEs, or Ascension Acceleration Energy Experiences. These are signs that your vibrational rate is accelerating. You can learn more about AAEs and how to reorient yourself to the energy of these transformational times by visiting our website, www.selfascension.com. That's www.selfascension.com. As a nonprofit organization, we offer classes and teachings to support your journey. Visit the appearances page at our website, www.selfascension.com. Blessings on your path.
This is a Oneness Moment with Mary Jacobs on Oneness Talk Radio. Expand your vision.
Love, the strongest force in the universe, yet so often misunderstood. Rumi says, love rests on no foundation. It is an endless ocean with no beginning or end. So what is love? It is deeper than an emotion. It's a presence, an energy. It is the boundless language of the heart and the soul. It is accepting, forgiving, and compassionate. It's inviting and attractive. And it is also as fearless and powerful as it is soft and meek. Such a beautiful paradox. And yet, at the core of who we are all love, because the universe was birthed from love. How often are we distracted by the illusions of fear, doubt, worry, or pain? For many of us, those words alone are triggers that can stimulate the mind of form and the unhealed parts of us. The mind is beautiful and a beautiful servant of the body of form, yet its basis for understanding life is limited. The heart is where we are being guided to go. The wisdom of your soul resides in the heart, which patiently waits with love, trust, clarity, and joy. Here's another wise quote from Rumi. Your task is not to seek love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. As we begin releasing the entanglements of our own illusions through love and transparency with self, we begin seeing the blessings and miracles of our everyday quote-unquote challenges. We recognize the gifts that are offered as lessons, how they assist us to release resistance and to heal what we are willing to acknowledge is present. We break down the barriers to the ascended heart, which is love and your truth. It is your time. Can you lose your mind and follow your heart, if even for a moment? Are you ready to remember, accept, and anchor into your own divine essence? Ways to assist are journaling, meditation, putting a hand on your heart, and taking deep conscious breaths, especially when feeling those trigger moments. Maybe watch the sunrise or sunset in deep contemplation and admiration. There are many ways to connect to the deeper part of you. And once your inner wisdom and knowing are revealed, everything becomes a wonderful dance with spirit. May you always remember how much you are loved and supported on your journey, for you have journeyed far. And yes, you are ready because you're here right now. Many blessings, beloved. Namaste.
Learn more about Mary Jacobs at her host page right here at OneNessTalkRadio.com.
Bienvenidos al programa El Viaje del Espíritu con su locutor Catalina Andreas. Únense a nosotros cada semana cuando hablaremos sobre una gran variedad de temas, incluyendo los sueños, la astrología, vidas pasadas, tu propósito de la vida y las relaciones íntimas. También ofreceremos consejos prácticos para aplicar esta información en tu vida. Bienvenidos al show de Spirit's Journey. Soy Catalina Andreas y hoy voy a compartir con ustedes información acerca de los signos zodiacos y cómo se actúan en cuanto al amor y las relaciones. Mientras la planeta Venus está retrógrado, tomaré la oportunidad de explicar cómo los signos del zodiaco piensan, actúan y respondan al tema del amor. No solamente el amor romántico, sino también el amor familiar, las amistades y el amor propio. Vamos a ver quiénes son los amantes más apasionados, los padres más cariñosos y los amigos más leales, mientras que estudiamos los signos del zodiaco. Para explicar un poquito del Venus cuando está retrógrada, esto significa que la planeta mueva muy despacio. Y en esta temporada es oportunidad de reflexionar sobre nuestras relaciones. No tomar acción, sino piensa, reflexionar. Entonces empezamos con el signo de Aries. Son directos. A veces solo piensan en sus necesidades y ignoran los deseos de otros. Esto es un defecto de la gente que tiene el signo de Aries. Pero, al contrario, un punto fuerte es que son muy apasionados, son intuitivos, así que podrán percibir los pensamientos de los demás. A veces cuando uno está con un Aries, ni tenemos que decir lo que estamos pensando, porque como son intuitivos, ellos pueden leer nuestras mentes. Aries pueden lastimar sin querer, con su manera directa de hablar. Yo sé que a veces escucho una persona del signo Aries hablar y yo pienso, oh Dios mío, ¿cómo pueden hablar así? Porque a mí me parece una manera muy lastimadora. Pero para los Aries simplemente están hablando con mucha honestidad. Como padres, los Aries pueden ser como un sargento de instrucción. Les gusta ser el líder. Entonces pueden tener un fuerte carácter, pero al mismo vez no van a tener problemas de disciplina porque saben ser el líder de la familia. En el trabajo son los empleados que siempre están empezando proyectos nuevos. A los Aries les tienen que dejar que toman cabeza de estos proyectos. Es el signo que más se necesita enfocarse en el autoconocimiento. Son impulsivos y desean mantener su libertad en las relaciones. A veces la gente piensa, oh, los Aries son un poco fríos. No es cierto, pero lo que sí se necesitan es su espacio. Entonces no quieren estar siempre con su pareja 24 horas al día. Tienen su tiempo aparte donde van a hacer su cosa, son independientes. Si nosotros entendemos la necesidad de los Aries de tener su propio espacio, nosotros vamos a dejar que tienen su espacio. Vamos a hablar un poquito de las personas famosas que tienen el signo de Aries. El músico Johann Bach. Él fue uno de los primeros de hacer cosas de la música que nadie más hizo. Y esto es una característica de los Aries, que a veces quieren ser el primero en hacer algo. Son líderes. Una persona que no fue tan popular como Johann Bach es Adolf Hitler. Bueno, hay que decir que fue una persona muy mal, pero fue un líder. Y él era una persona muy fuerte, muy impulsivo. Desafortunadamente, él usó sus características por el mal en vez de por el bien. Esto es Aries. Seguimos con Tauro. Es un signo que está regido por el planeta Venus. Es un signo de tierra que simboliza la sensualidad. Venus es el regido de este planeta, así que a los tauros le gusta todo tipo de placer. Al tauro le encanta la comida y se dice que el camino hacia su corazón se encuentra en la cocina. El tauro le gusta la naturaleza. Una cita con un tauro puede consistir en ir a un restaurante que sirve comida deliciosa, seguido por una caminata en el bosque. También al tauro le gusta el contacto físico. Un masaje sería un regalo perfecto por un tauro. Es un empleado y un amigo leal. El tauro trabaja duro, pero un defecto más grande es la lentitud. Como es un signo de tierra, la tierra puede mover muy despacio. Una característica fuerte es que es un signo pensativo. Un tauro prefiere una vida tranquila y busca la seguridad y la estabilidad. El tauro no se olvidará del pasado y se tomará un largo tiempo antes de perdonar a una persona. Entonces, ten cuidado si estás en una relación con un Tauro, que si tú haces un error o decepcionas a tu pareja, este Tauro nunca se va a olvidar. O si se olvida, les cuesta, ¿verdad? Como amante y amigo, son personas muy pacientes y fieles. Tauro es fiel y generoso. Los Tauros pueden ser posesivos y resentidos. Así que ten cuidado de no decepcionar a un Tauro. En sus relaciones se requiere estabilidad. Es muy importante por un Tauro. Tauro tiene que estar seguro antes de entregarse por completo a otra persona. También un Tauro puede ser muy celoso. Es un signo cariñoso, sensual. Como padres son muy cariñosos con sus hijos. Les da todo lo que quieren. Y también va a cocinar buena comida. La casa de un Tauro está decorado como un palacio. Todos los detalles y cosas bellas están rodeados en su casa. Porque a los Tauros les gustan los placeres. Y su casa es un ejemplo de todos los tesoros que desean tener en su vida. Si miramos unas personas famosas del signo Tauro, tenemos un ejemplo de Andre Agassi, el jugador de tenis, y David Beckham, el jugador de fútbol. ¿Por qué estos deportistas son ejemplos del Tauro? Pues el Tauro, como yo les dije, es un signo de la tierra. Les gusta hacer ejercicio, ser muy físico. Entonces, muchas personas nacidas bajo el signo de Tauro les encantan hacer deportes. Si eres padre de un hijo o hija del signo Tauro, los padres deberían reconocer la necesidad de sus hijos de estar en la naturaleza y de jugar deportes. Entonces, un consejo para los padres es de meterse a todo tipo de deporte hasta que su hijo o su hija encuentre el deporte que les guste más. Necesitan una casa, quizás que tiene un jardín o yarda donde pueden ir a salir a jugar afuera. Bueno, seguimos con el signo de Géminis. Es el signo del elemento aire, regido por la planeta Mercurio. La curiosidad es muy grande en la gente que tienen signo de Géminis. El Géminis es una persona interesante porque estudia mucho y es una persona que le gusta tener muchas experiencias en la vida. Entonces, a lo mejor pasaron años viajando en el extranjero, conociendo mucha gente. Y cuando ya son viejos, tienen muchas historias para contar a sus hijos. Bueno, a los Géminis les gustan todas situaciones sociales. Son muy sociables. Los Géminis están en constante movimiento. Son buenos comunicadores. A veces son escritores, locutores de radio, etc. Un defecto de los Géminis es que a veces tienen dos lados o dos caras. Dicen que un día él es una persona muy simpática y el otro día está hablando mal de sus amigos. Tienen que tener cuidado de los Géminis porque a veces sí pueden tener como dos personalidades y depende del día, como son, de mal genio o de buen genio. A los Géminis les gusta tener muchas amistades. Está regido por el planeta Mercurio, como ya dije, así que son buenos oradores. Un defecto de los Géminis es que pueden mentir. A veces hablan demasiado y les gusta el chisme. Entonces, yo no daría mis secretos a un Géminis, porque es muy difícil para el Géminis de guardar un secreto. En una cita con un Géminis, quizás van a ir al cine, van a jugar un juego como al ajedrez o otro juego. Simplemente pueden pasar horas practicando con un Géminis, pero seguro no se van a aburrir en una cita con un Géminis. Hay que conquistar una mujer o un hombre Géminis por su mente primero. Ustedes, si quieren tener amigos que son Géminis, van a tener que saber todo lo que está pasando en el mundo de la política, en el mundo de las actrices, de Hollywood, porque los Géminis saben de todo y quieren chismear. ¿Qué pasó con esta persona o otra persona? ¿Qué está pasando en el mundo de Hollywood? ¿Cuál es la nueva película que salió? ¿Y qué pensaste de el político de tu ciudad o del presidente? Están metidos en todo. Entonces ustedes tienen que ser corriente de lo que está pasando en el mundo si vas a tener amigos que tienen el signo de Géminis. Al Géminis no le gusta la rutina, así que como pareja siempre busca hacer cosas nuevas, porque el Géminis le odia el aburrimiento. Entonces en la escuela, si el Géminis no tiene un maestro o una maestra que sabe enseñar bien, que sabe motivar a los estudiantes, el Géminis se va a aburrir y normalmente va a ser uno de los estudiantes que habla sin parar. Entonces puede ser muy difícil enseñar al Géminis porque la mente de ellos mueve muy rápido, son muy inteligentes. Entonces, por los maestros, pues hay que tener material nuevo cada día por los estudiantes de Géminis. Son capaces de mucha creatividad también. Nunca hay un momento aburrido con un Géminis en tu vida. No se interesan tanto al sexo como en las noticias y el chisme. Un defecto es que saben chismear y a veces pueden lastimar porque, como yo les dije, no guardan secretos muy bien. Al Géminis le gusta viajar y pueden adaptarse fácilmente a otras culturas, pueden aprender otros idiomas sin problema. Como padres siempre son interesados en la educación de sus hijos. Pondrán énfasis en leer diario a sus hijos cuando son jóvenes. Entonces, como padres, los hijos siempre van a ser bien educados, bien informados en el mundo. Vamos a mirar unos casos de gente famosa que tienen el signo de Géminis. Marilyn Monroe, la rubia famosa. Pues ella se cayó en una depresión muy fuerte varias veces durante su vida. Además, su mamá se suicidó porque se cayó en depresión. Esto es un problema de los Géminis. Si no salen y hablan con gente, puede ser que se quedan encerrados en su mente con todas esas ideas. Y si no saben controlar o expresar lo que se sientan, es posible que se caigan en una depresión fuerte, como le pasó a la actriz Marilyn Monroe. Otra actriz del signo Géminis es Angelina Jolie. Es interesante porque ella, aparte de ser actriz, se interesa en la política y en los derechos de los niños. Ella adoptó no sé cuántos hijos, 3 o 4 de países extranjeros. Ella se interesa en muchas causas en favor de los niños y está interesado en la política también. Entonces es una persona que está usando su signo de Géminis en una manera muy productiva. Seguimos hablando del signo de Cáncer. Es un signo que está regido por la luna. Entonces es una persona bajo el signo de Cáncer muy emocional. Tienen calidades de ser muy atentos a sus hijos, si es un padre, o a sus amigas, todo el mundo en su vida. Un defecto del Cáncer es que puede ser posesivo. Es una persona muy sensible. Le encanta el papel de padre. Entonces casi siempre los Cánceres desean tener varios hijos. Son cariñosos hacia sus hijos y a veces son posesivos. Le gustan quizás controlar demasiado a la otra persona. Como pareja son leales. No les gusta mucho salir. Prefieren, por ejemplo, quedarse en casa mirando la televisión. Entonces, si tú eres una persona que les gusta salir y a las fiestas, no vas a ser muy compatible con una persona bajo el signo de Cáncer. Pero si te gusta estar en casa, comiendo, rodeado por familia, sí eres compatible con un Cáncer. No vas a tener problemas con su pareja saliendo muy tarde en la noche a los bares tomando, porque a los Cánceres prefieren estar en la comodidad de su casa. Es una persona muy emocional. Las mujeres lloran mucho si se caen en una depresión. Un día están felices, el otro día están deprimidos. Entonces, esto puede ser difícil vivir con una persona así, con emociones que suben y bajan diario. Es porque este signo está regido por la luna. Y sabemos que la luna es una influencia muy fuerte en nuestra vida. Los Cánceres huyen de los conflictos. No saben defenderse a veces. Entonces ellos prefieren, como hacen los congrejos, de entrar en su concha y no salir cuando hay un conflicto o un problema en su vida. Entonces necesitan motivación para salir de su concha, digamos. La mujer y el hombre son atentos a su amado, a sus amados y a sus hijos. Son dedicados a criar a sus hijos y nunca les van a abandonar. Sus talentos son que tienen buena intuición y son generosos. Un defecto es que tienen que aprender a respetar la voluntad y la libertad de los demás. Las mujeres se requieren mucho amor y mucha atención. Y en las relaciones amorosas, ambos sexos tienen que aprender a mantener su independencia. Sobre todo las mujeres, más que los hombres, desean que su pareja les sostienen de muchas maneras, con las finanzas, con la casa. A veces pueden parecer débil y los Cánceres sobre todo les gustan actuar como la víctima. Esto me pasó en la vida o el otro. Y entonces es muy difícil cuando se ponen de víctima, porque los Cánceres tienen que aprender de tomar responsabilidad de sí mismo, que todo lo que pasa en su vida es culpa de ellos y de nadie más. Un defecto también de los Cánceres es que vivan en el pasado. Así que tienen que aprender a poner su atención en el presente, enfocarse en lo que está pasando ahora. Aun si no les gusta o si les da miedo, es mejor que se ponen atención en lo que está pasando. Una persona famosa del signo Cáncer fue la Lady Diana, la princesa. Ella era muy tímida y eso fue difícil porque ella en su vida, cuando se casó con el príncipe, de repente estaba enfrente del público. Ella tuvo que cambiar la timidez para poder enfrentar al público y lo hizo. Ella hizo muchos discursos en público, se fue a visitar a los hospitales, a los enfermos y al final fue un buen orador. Se sobrepasó el problema de la timidez. Pero cuando ella sospechaba que su esposo, el príncipe, no le amaba y que estaba pensando en otra mujer, se puso en una depresión. Y yo creo que este fue el empiezo o los raíces de sus problemas emocionales, que al final se convirtieron en un trastorno alimentario, donde no comía o comía y después vomitaba. Tuvo muchos problemas emocionales. Al final, esto yo creo es lo que le causó muchas depresiones. Entonces es uno de los retos de los Cánceres, es de sobrepasar la sensibilidad. Los Cánceres son muy sensitivos y saben cuando una persona no les ama o no les quiere. Entonces tenemos que tener cuidado cuando estamos cerca de un cáncer de nuestros pensamientos, porque ellos tienen intuición y saben si nosotros estamos pensando mal de él o de ella. El cáncer es un signo de agua. Y agua a veces tiene dificultad en encontrar una dirección en la vida y miran a los demás para darles dirección. Entonces, por un cáncer es muy importante que hacen meditación cada día, porque así pueden tener contacto con sí mismo y buscar dirección por dentro en vez de buscar afuera por dirección. El agua, por ejemplo, se pone la forma según en lo que tiene. Por ejemplo, si tengo una taza y pongo agua adentro, el agua se toma la forma del alrededor. Igual, una persona que es del signo de agua va a buscar otros para darles forma. Y esto es un problema porque los cánceres tienen que conocerse a sí mismos. Si no, van a caer en la víctima. Bueno, seguimos con el signo de Leo. Leo es muy diferente del cáncer porque primero es un signo de fuego. Entonces el Leo tiene mucha energía, mientras que el cáncer a veces siempre se queja de estar sin energía. El Leo sí tiene energía. Y un punto fuerte del Leo es que tiene mucha confianza en sí mismo. Es una persona muy apasionada, generosa, una persona creativa, honesta y leal. El Leo es un líder que sabe captar la atención de la gente. También es un signo sincera y una persona del signo Leo tiene carisma. Por eso es un signo que a veces busca un lugar en el público, por ejemplo, presidente de los Estados Unidos o una actriz o actor en el cine, porque tienen este carisma que es capaz de atraer la atención de mucha gente. Puntos débiles del Leo: ansia de poder, autoritario, no admite el fracaso y puede ser que le guste imponer sus ideas sobre los demás. Por su creatividad y encanto con el público, puede ser un buen actor, un líder de una empresa o líder de un país. En los Estados Unidos hubo varios presidentes en el pasado con el signo de Leo. Por ejemplo, Bill Clinton y más recién Obama. En un matrimonio, el Leo quiere ser la cabeza de la familia. Entonces, si hay dos personas con el signo de Leo que se casan, ten cuidado, porque sabemos que no podemos tener dos líderes en la casa. Uno tiene que ser líder y el otro tiene que seguir. Y el Leo no le gusta seguir. Entonces, en un matrimonio puede ser muy difícil con dos personas del mismo signo de Leo. Se dice que los leones nunca se crecen, que guardan siempre la inocencia y la imaginación de los niños. De esta manera, como padre, el Leo es una persona muy divertida, que juega con sus hijos, sabe jugar, pero como es un signo de fuego, puede tener un mal genio. Así que, ojo, si eres el hijo de un Leo, pórtate bien, porque este fuego puede explotar. Como amigo, siempre trae la luz y felicidad a una fiesta. El Leo le gusta ser el centro de la fiesta, el rey, como el león es el rey de la selva. Normalmente el Leo se viste de una manera elegante. El Leo tiene mucho orgullo. Y lo peor por el Leo es de ignorarlo. Ellos desean la atención de los demás. Los Leos son exigentes, pero si les da lo que piden, te devolverán 10 veces más en forma de amor, regalos, apoyo, etc. Las personas que ejemplifican las características del Leo son Madonna el cantante famosa. Bueno, ella, claro, tenía mucha creatividad y era una persona muy sensual. Otra persona en el pasado que tenía las características de Leo era Coco Chanel, el diseñador. Y ella era una persona muy creativa también y muy elegante. Casi ya no tenemos tiempo para seguir hablando de los signos zodiaco, entonces para la próxima vamos a empezar con el signo de Virgo y hablaremos del Virgo, Escorpión, Sagitario, Capricornio, Acuario y Piscis, para que ustedes entiendan bien cómo son los signos en las relaciones amorosas. Mientras tanto, ojalá que pasen una buena semana, que usen ese tiempo bajo la influencia de Venus para reflexionar sobre sus relaciones. Hasta la próxima.
Through the allness, you discovered oneness. Welcome home.